Hello and welcome to this Getting Started with Convertri webinar. Thank you very much for coming. My name is Dan and I'll be your host for today. Today I am going to talk you through how to build a simple lead funnel in Convertri. So that includes a simple opt-in page, something like you see on screen now, as well as a thank you page so that your prospect can come to your opt-in page, opt in to your list, and then sign up and download your lead magnet by clicking on the button, which will then take them to a thank you page where they can then eventually download the lead magnet. And in the meantime, their details that they just entered will be added to your autoresponder list. So you have obtained their details and can use it for retargeting in the future. After I've talked you through how to do that and how to set that up in Convertri, I'm going to go through some of my favorite time-saving tricks and tips in the editor, as well as showing you how to mobilize your pages and how to build out your pages in desktop so that they mobilize well and that you save time in the mobile editor. So without further ado then, I'm going to get started with the lead funnel demo. And to do that, I'm in my campaigns dashboard and I've gone into my Getting Started webinar funnel. So you can see I've got a page already here. I'm going to use this a little bit later on, as I said, to show you the tips and the tricks, and that will be before the Q&A session at the end, where I'll talk you through some of the frequently asked questions here at Convertri. So to get started then, I need to click on the new page button here. And what this is going to open up is all of our template pages. So you'll see the list of template pages here. You have the choice either to create a page from scratch or choose one of the templates you can see in the list. We've got a wide variety of templates for loads of genres and niches. So if you do want to start off by getting to know the editor by playing around with one of our templates, then of course feel free to do that. However, at the moment in this demonstration, I'm going to create a page from scratch so I can show you the whole process from start to finish. So once I've clicked that button, I need to give my page a name, and I'm just going to call it opt-in. And then I'm going to hit the OK button, and my page will now go into my funnel. From here, I can go into the Convertri editor. So I'm going to click Edit Page, and that will now open the editor. So here I am in the Convertri editor. This is now my blank canvas. This is where I'll be adding my elements to the page to build it out. And as you can see on the left-hand side here, this is the Elements toolbar, and this is where you add all of the elements onto your page. So the first thing that I want to get on my page is my background image. So to do that, I'm going to use the image element. I'm just going to drag and drop that onto the page, and that will open up the media gallery. From here, you can see all the images that I've uploaded into my account in the past. And you can also see I've got a number of folders here on the left. And this allows me to organize my images so that I'm not confused at where any of them are. You've also got the option here of to search Pixabay. So if we click on this, what this will allow you to do is search directly onto Pixabay itself, and that will then present the images that Pixabay would show you on their website, and you can then use them for your pages. So we are directly integrated with Pixabay, so this comes at no extra cost. You won't need to have like a Pixabay account or anything like that. You can simply just use our integration to search for the images for free. So let's say we want to search for a dog on Pixabay. We just type that in, hit search. As I said, it will then pull up these images that you'd be shown on the Pixabay website, and you can add them here directly to your pages. However, the only difference is with our images, we have no resolution cap. However, you'll see here that the cap for the Pixabay images is 1920 by 1280, which means that the resolution is capped. So the quality of the image, it can only get up to a certain level. Now, because Convertri's pages will load so fast, no matter how big the image is, it means that we don't actually have to worry about the image size, so we can make the most of Convertri's fast loading speeds and use a higher resolution image, which is what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to go back to my home folder, and you'll notice here that the image I'm going to use is quite a bit larger in terms of the resolution, so 5000 by 3500 almost. And you'll see when we publish the page that it doesn't affect the load time at all, so it is definitely worthwhile making the most of our image upload feature. So I'm then going to select that, and it's going to get added to my page. And now it's on the canvas. I can drag it around like so. The first thing I want to do now it's on the page is make it full width. And to do that, I just need to select the image like so, and then use the double-headed arrow tool so that it snaps to the edges of the page like so. Once I've done that, I can then resize the image so that it covers the top and the bottom of the page. And this is now nearly good to go for my image background. So as you can see now, we've got our image on the page so that it is pretty much covering from the bottom all the way to the top. And we can actually make that a little bit larger just to make sure. Like so. So the next thing that I want to do now on my page is just add a header and a footer to the page. Now I can do this one of two ways, the first of which I'll show you now in the demonstration, and the second of which I will show you later on in the questions section. So to do this now just on the one page, I'm going to use the panel tool. I'm going to drag that on and I'm going to move it to the top. Again, I'm going to make it full width and then I'm going to reduce the height of it. And now I've got this header element at the top. But before I'm happy with this, I do want to change the background color so that it looks a bit more presentable on the page. I don't really like the way the gray looks there. So I'm just opening up the element properties. I'm going to background. And from here, you'll see I've got this live color picker, which changes as I drag the cursor around. So that's really useful because I can make comparisons between the different shades of color while I'm actually applying them to the page. So once you've found a color you're happy with, I'm going to use the left-hand toolbar to just change the color and then the shade with the color picker. I'm going to go for this sort of beigey vanilla color. And you can see you'll get the RGB value there as well. So if you did want to copy this, you can just highlight it and make a copy of the number and then paste it into the other element that you want to use it on. So I'm happy with that now. I'm going to hit select, close the element properties down. And to make sure I've got the exact same shade of color, I'm just going to clone the element using our clone tool here. And that will make an exact copy of it, for which I can drag down to use as my footer. Like so. Okay, so we've bookended the page quite well now. And we can now move on to setting up our input form on the page. So this will be where our prospect enters their information. And with that, they'll be able to progress to the next stage of the funnel, which in this case is just going to be the thank you page, which will house the lead magnet. So to do this then, again, I'm going to use a panel. And my panel in this case is going to allow me to act as a container and as a background for my form elements. So I'm just going to resize that to how I like it and make the position where I want it. And now I'm going to add a text element and start getting out the copy on my form. So we'll start off with our heading. And then we can go to our main copy. Just something that's describing the lead magnet and what they're going to be getting out of it is perfectly fine. And once we've done that, the last pieces of text I'm going to need to add are just a little prompt to enter your details below. And that will go above the form. And then this piece of text is going to be our spam text. So we'll have, we will never spam you. Your details are safe with us. And this is kind of just reassuring your prospect that you're not going to be doing anything malicious with their information. You know, people can be a little bit wary about handing over email addresses online. So I'd always recommend having this piece of text on your page. Literally just something like I've wrote here, just to give the prospect a little bit of peace of mind. It's not really like a legal requirement, so I wouldn't be too worried if you don't want it, but I think I'd definitely recommend having it. Okay, so we've got our text on the form now, but what we need to do is change the look of it. I don't really like the way it's looking at the moment. So I'm going to set up some default text styles so that all the text elements look the same. To do that, I'm going to go into my page settings and then default text styles on the left. And you can see here, I've got 4 options at the top. I've got my paragraph text, heading 1, heading 2, and hyperlink. Now, when you add a text element to a page in Convertri, it's automatically set to paragraph, which means when we edit the paragraph text here, you'll see that this will change in the background on screen. So if we change the font now, let's say we want to use Lato. If you watch the "We will never spam you" text, that's also going to change when I click this. So you can see that it's shifted to Lato now. And that is just because we are editing the paragraph text setting, which is what these are set to. So we'll change the line spacing as well to 1.5 and we'll click done. And as you can see now, we've got these text elements all looking the same. We've made a change to the font, but we didn't have to do it for each individual element. Now you can still do that if you want to. You can see here my prompting text. I want that to be maybe a little bit smaller, so I'm going to individually change the size of that. And I'm going to do the same for my spam text as well. Now we've got our heading here and we want it to look a little bit different from our paragraph text. So we're going to go into our page settings once again and go to default text styles. But this time we're going to edit heading 1. We'll change the font family and we'll go for a font that's going to stand out nicely. Let's go Noto Sans and we can keep it bold. We'll change the font sizing to maybe around 26 and we can keep the line spacing. That should be fine. You'll notice, however, when I've clicked done and I've gone back onto my page, this hasn't been updated, and that's because it's still set to the paragraph text. So to change this, again, I just need to highlight the text that I want to change. This time I'm clicking the More drop down, and from there I'm changing it to heading 1, and you'll see that snap to our default text style for heading 1 in the background. So we can select the element now, resize it so it's going on to 2 lines. And we've now got all the text we need on our form. We do, however, still need our form input elements. And to do that, we're going to go back to our elements toolbar, click the form elements one so that it opens up the other options. We're going to drag first name on, we're going to drag email on, and we're also going to drag submit on like so. And we can, of course, move these around so that they fit nicely on the form. Now you'll notice when the form elements are on the page that they don't actually match the default text styles that we've got set up. And that's because the form elements are individual from that. So you do have to make those changes separately. And I'll show you how to do that just now. So you need to just select the element you want to change, go to element properties, and then in the input properties, you can change the text. So if I wanted to change this to full name, you can see I would change that and that's the input placeholder. We'll keep it as first name though. And I can also change the color, the text color. So the placeholder color is the color currently, and the text color will be the color when someone writes their name in. Here I'm just going to match up the font family so that it matches my paragraph text, which was Lato. And I'll do the same for email. And on the submit button, I'm going to make sure that it's matching our heading. So I'm going to go button settings. Now you need to make sure the mode here is set to sign up because this is what will submit the form. We can go through some of the other modes a little bit later on, but the mode will need to be sign up for your form here. I'm going to change the label to download now because even though this button won't download the file, that is the call to action that we're going to be getting across to our prospects because they are downloading a lead magnet. We want them to know that by clicking this, they'll have the opportunity to do that. Again, font family, I'm going to match up, as I said, to our heading. So I change Noto Sans, we'll go to bold, and we can make it 26 as well. Like so. So that is looking a lot better now. You might be thinking though, just like I am, that this is a little bit messy. It's all over the place really. We want it to look nice and neat. So to do that, I'm going to select my panel, which is containing these elements. As you can see, they're almost grouped together. And I'm then going to go up to our alignment tools, going to hit the drop down and click center align, which will align all the elements to the center of this panel. And from there, I'm just going to shift click these 3 form elements, and I'm then going to click distribute vertically so that there is enough space between them. And you can see there was already enough space, which is good. We can actually do it to the spam text as well if we want to. to make sure these last 5 elements are spaced out evenly. You can see the spacing is a little bit uneven there. So if we do this, you'll see that it shifts so that you've got exactly the same space between them. So that is looking a lot better now, and I'm pretty happy with how the form looks. The last thing I want to do is just change the background color so that it is slightly transparent. So to do that, I'm in the color picker again, but this time I'm using the right toolbar to drag the transparency down, and we'll go to about 70. You can see there 0.7. And finally, the borders. I just want to give the border radius a little bit of rounding, so I'm going to make sure this toggle is turned on so that we've got 1 radius for all corners. I can then type in the number I want. So I'm going to go 20, and I think that looks pretty nice the way it's curved around there, like so. So that is looking pretty nice. The last thing I need to do on my desktop page before I check the mobile version is just add a piece of text, which we're going to hyperlink to a privacy policy. So I'll add this onto the page. I'll name it privacy policy. I'm going to center align it to the text element, and I'm also going to center align it to the page. And then simply just need to highlight the text, use the hyperlink icon, the chain icon, and then just type in your link here. So I'm going to use Convertri's privacy policy, which I believe is /privacy, like so. And the one thing you need to make sure when you are doing privacy policies, or any leaky links, as I like to call them, on your page. So that's a link where your prospect is being taken away from the main sales page or opt-in page and shown other things. So it might be like a privacy policy. It might be a terms and conditions page. It might even be a contact us page. But you need to have that opening a new tab turned on. And the reason for this is because that way your prospect isn't going to have the sales page closed on them, which means they will always be able to revisit that, and you'll then still be able to get the conversion. If you don't have this, the chances are they'll go to the privacy policy or whichever the link is, and they may then close the tab completely, which of course means you're going to lose that prospect and then not get the conversion. So I'd always recommend turning this on when you've got any hyperlinks on your page. So I'm going to click save, and I'm pretty happy with how the page looks now. And I just want to check the mobile version before we save it and go on to our thank you page. Now, you might be wondering that I haven't actually done anything to set the form up yet, and that is correct. I haven't configured it in our forms menu. I'm going to do that later on once I've set the thank you page up and published it, so that they definitely have somewhere to go if a prospect enters their information. For now though, we're going to go to the mobile editor in the top right corner, and this is going to show us the automatically generated version that Convertri's mobile algorithm has created for us. So you can see here it's looking pretty good, and that's because I've built the page out in a way that will mobilize well, which is something I'm going to touch on a little bit later. Now, there's a few things to remember when you're dealing with the mobile editor. You can make changes that won't affect the desktop version. These, though, are more positional. So, for example, I can move the heading down and swap the text up like so. So I've changed the position. If we go back to desktop, that won't affect the page at all. However, if I did want to change the color of, say, the background panel, let's just say I wanted to make the background panel like a reddy color. If we go to desktop, that will change on the desktop as well. So it's important to remember you can change the position of elements on mobile and it won't impact the desktop page, but you can't really change the properties of elements. Now you'll notice here we've got a remobilize button that's appearing. That's because I've made a change on the mobile page from the original conversion. So let's make another change just so we can really see the difference when I hit remobilize. And to do that, I'll show you how to change the mobile font scaling for your text. So you can either change it here when you've highlighted the element you want. The default is set to 150, or you can go back into page settings, default styles, and for each of the 4, you'll have a default font scaling on mobile. So you can change it in there as well, like so. I'm going to use the remobilize button now though to rerun that automatic mobile conversion. So once I do that and hit remobilize all, you'll see that it gives us the original version once again. And I am happy with this version, so I'm going to go ahead and save it. And I don't need to save it both in mobile and desktop. It will do one save for both. So I can then go back to my funnel. The next thing I need to do then is make my thank you page. Now, I'm not actually going to create a new page though for this. What I'm going to do is use the 3-dot menu here on the original page card. And then going to click More and Clone. And I'm going to call this Thank You. And what this is going to do is it's going to create an exact replica of my opt-in page so that I'm able to make minor changes to it while continuing the house style that we built up in the opt-in page. So you'll see here, this is a direct copy. However, I can make some changes, so I can delete the elements that I don't need, which are going to be on my form. You can get rid of the first name, the email, prompt and spam text, and I can edit this so that it's more of an explanation of how to get the guide. So click on the button below, something like this, that is going to give the prospect an idea of how to get the button. It's going to be pretty obvious because you've got the button here, but just to make sure they know how to get that lead magnet. Like so. And then I can move the download button up. And I can even resize and reposition the panel that's containing them if I want to. And then now we need to change the download button mode. So currently it will still be set to sign up because of course that is what we had the sign up button set to, the submit button originally for our form. However, we need this to now be set to download so that we're able to attach a file. So you can see when I set download, it gives me that option. I'm going to click select file and it's going to bring up my file library similar to the media gallery. From here, I can choose one I've uploaded in the past or upload another one. And as you can see, we've got individual files here that are limited to 40 megabytes. So if you do have a file that is larger than this, you can still attach it to a button. However, you'll need to change the button mode to link and you'll need to get the file self-hosted somewhere else. So somewhere like Amazon S3 or another service provider where you can actually have the file hosted, and you'll then need to add the link for the file into the link section here of the button. For now though, I can use the one I've already got, which is my top tips guide. Hit that and this is now attached to the button. If I want to make a change to the button at all, I can. If I want to change the background color, for example, I can of course change that. If we want to go for like a greeny color, like so, that is absolutely fine, no problem at all. So now our thank you page is pretty much done. We need to just check the mobile version, and that is because you'll see now it's quite small because our panel is quite small. So it's condensed it to match that, but we want obviously this to fit the screen on someone's phone. So I am going to make it a little bit larger. I'm going to use shift to drag the element, shift and drag to move the element down. And what that does is it enlarges it, but it also moves our privacy policy down as well. And then I'm just going to reposition our panel into the middle where you can see that horizontal pink line is. Okay, so I'm now going to save this, and here and now I'm going to publish my page. I'm just going to call it thank you, and then I'll call it GS. I'll hit publish, and this page is now a live page on the internet. And what I can do now is connect this page as my thank you page redirect for my opt-in page. To do that, I need to exit my funnel, go back to my opt-in page and set up the form. Before I go back into my opt-in page though, I need to use this arrow to connect the two pages. Now, I say I need to, I don't actually need to in order for the connection to be made. But what this does, as well as it allowing you to visualize your funnels well in the funnel dashboard, it also tells Convertri that these two pages are going to be linked. And that will help us when we're setting up our form because the URL for this page will be suggested as the thank you page redirect, which then means I don't have to remember the URL. I can't tell you the amount of times I've been building funnels, published my thank you page, gone to set up my form, and I've forgotten the URL and had to come out and go and write it down or something like that. So now I always use the arrow tool to make sure that Convertri is doing the work for me. So we're back in the opt-in page now, and I'm going to go onto my forms menu in the top toolbar. From here, I've got a list of autoresponders that I can connect my form to. You can see these are the ones we are directly integrated with. I'm going to use MailChimp because it's the one I've been using. And I'm then going to use my target list, which is just a list I've got set up in MailChimp. And you'll see here we now have the fields and the type. Now this is important because the field type in the form menu needs to match the field type that is set on your form elements. And that is just so Convertri knows where to pass the information into the autoresponder. So if these field types don't match, so the first name type is for the first name field. So if we have our first name field here and the type in the element is set to say last name, Convertri won't pass the information over because it doesn't know it's the right place to go. So they need to be matching. You can see here email is a fixed field for MailChimp, so you wouldn't be able to have MailChimp without an email field. I'm then going to click next. And as you can see, just like I was saying, my thank you page has been set up automatically. You can see it would appear here in the suggestions along with any others if I used any other arrows to other pages. It's just the one though this time because we've only got our one thank you page. So I'm going to click done, and that will now set up our form. And I can just confirm that we've got our field type set up correctly by clicking on our first name, going to form field settings and showing you the field type is assigned correctly, as you can see for email as well. And I'm going to keep email required so that I at least have to get an email for the form to be submitted. So I'm pretty happy with that now. I'm going to save the page and I'm now going to publish this opt-in page as well. We'll go opt-in GS and we'll hit publish. And once that has been published, we can then go to our live page and submit the form. And we will have built a simple lead funnel from start to finish. So let's view the page then. You can see how quickly it loaded there, even with that large resolution image like I spoke about at the beginning. And if I enter my details now, like so, this will redirect me to the thank you page. It will send those details off to MailChimp where I can collect them and retarget people in the future. I'm now on the thank you page where I can click download now, and the lead magnet will download, or it will open in the tab depending on the prospect's browser settings. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that demonstration on how to create a simple lead funnel in Convertri. I'm sure that was extremely useful. I know it's a great way to get started is building simple lead funnels. So definitely recommend having a go at that if you haven't already. And I'm now going to move on to some little tips and tricks in the Convertri editor that will help you save time when you are building out your pages. So I'm going to save this now just so we've got it in the future. Go back to my funnel. I'm now going to open this editor tips and tricks page and get started on that section. So this is one of our templates, and it is made in a way that mobilizes poorly in certain areas of the page, and we've left that there for a reason so that we can show you this demonstration here. So first thing that I'm going to talk about is some shortcuts in the editor, and then we'll go on to the mobilization side of things. So if we go to display, one little tip for you is turn on your element outlines, especially if you're just getting started with Convertri. These things can be really useful just for finding elements on the page if maybe you've lost one. For example, maybe a panel that's the same color as your background or something like that. You'll then see where it is on the page. And it's also useful for knowing where to click to select your element. For example, the text here, I would know now to click within the pink lines to select it like so. So I definitely recommend turning those on when you're building out your pages. The first thing I want to show you then is just how to delete an entire section. Now you'll notice from the original demonstration that if you have elements contained within a panel like we've got here, they act as a group, so they move around together, and that goes as well for when you're deleting the elements. So instead of having to delete all the single elements here, if I did want to get rid of this menu section, what I can do instead is select the black background panel and then either hit delete on my keyboard or use the delete selected tool. So I'm going to hit delete, and that's going to get rid of that section entirely. So we've now got a white space here if we did want to get rid of a section or if we wanted to change it for something new. However, there of course might be an occasion where you delete a section and you don't want to add anything to your page, and in that case you want to get rid of this white space here, but you don't really want to be faffing around moving each element up individually, which is why we have the clear white space above tool. To use that, you just need to select the panel or the element below the white space. In this case for us it is a panel. And then up here we've got remove white space above, that's next to the delete selected icon. All you need to do is click that, and if we just scroll the page up slightly, we'll click that now, and then if we scroll up, you can see that the about section, which is what we selected and was below the white space, has snapped up. to remove the white space and close the gap for us, which is of course very useful and time saving. Now, if you want to make white space on the page, one way you can do this without moving each element around on the page to create it is use the Shift key, select the element that you want to appear below the white space. So again, it would be this panel for us. Hold Shift and drag down. You'll see we're making space, we're moving elements all at once, but we're also pushing the page down with it as well, which means you don't have to reorder your page manually. And that is, of course, very useful and time saving. The last keyboard shortcut then that I want to show you is how to clone an element even without using the clone button up the top here. To do that, I just need to select the element I want to clone. And one reason I find this useful is because I don't want to have to scroll all the way up if I'm working on the bottom of the page. So instead I can just use the shortcut, which in this case is the Alt key, then drag the element like so, and that will create a clone as many times as I want, like so. So that's Alt and drag to clone elements. Okay, so those are a few shortcuts that I think you'll find useful when you're using the Convertri editor. The next thing I want to talk about is the mobilization side of Convertri, and this for me is the most important thing when it comes to building your pages, because if you're building a page in desktop and you then want the mobile version to look good as well, you want to make sure you've built it in desktop so that the automatic conversion that we do for you is going to be as close to how you want it as possible. That way you're of course saving time and effort by having to reorder or redesign your mobile page. So if we take a look at this page as an example, we're going to go to our mobile page. You can see before we do that though, that on desktop, it's looking pretty good. We obviously moved that white space, so we'll remove that just so it doesn't affect the page. If we go to our bottom though, you can see it's all looking nicely laid out. Let's go to mobile now then, and you can see if we go from the start, it's looking fairly good, but we get down to this bread, pastry and coffee section and it's looking a little bit weird because the three headings are coming one after another like so. Now this of course isn't ideal because we don't really want this to be laid out this way on the mobile page. We want the bread page heading to be here and then the text after it to come below it, just like on the desktop version. If we scroll back up so I can show you that, just like this desktop version here. Now I'm going to explain to you now why this has happened and why the automatic conversion has generated the page in this way. And I'm going to talk to you about the Convertri algorithm and how that works. So the way the Convertri algorithm works is what happens when it's reading the page is it comes along and reads what's at the top, which in this case is the panel, and it goes from left to right, and that is the order it puts these elements on the mobile page. So let's take this one as an example. We've got our panel, we've got the logo, we are open, image, then the three headings, bread, pastry and coffee, and the three texts about them as well. If we go to the mobile version, you'll see this is actually the exact order that it has displayed these elements in. So you can understand from that how the algorithm works. And what that then allows you to do is understand how to build a page out so that you're playing to that algorithm and it's going to order your elements in the way you want. And the way to do that is simply by using panels to contain elements together so that Convertri knows they need to be displayed as one. So let's show you how to put that into action now. We're going to use our panel element and drag it onto the page, and we're going to make it so it goes over the top of the two elements we want contained together. We'll resize it so it's containing them. Again, this is where the element outlines come in handy. And we're then going to use the reordering tools to send it backwards twice so that it now contains them both, as you can see. And once again, we're going to do that for pastry and coffee as well. So like so, we now have three panels containing each elements for each heading. If we now go back to our mobile version, you'll see that automatically, without us having to manually change anything on this page, it's reordered those so that they're contained within their panel, which is of course exactly what we were looking for. Now, in this case, we can actually change the background color if we want to. We don't necessarily have to have it as gray. It's just how it's set to as the default. It won't affect the containment settings at all. So if we did want to change this to be either white or transparent so that it matches the background, you can see that won't affect the containment at all. So that's one way, and the way I would recommend making your pages so they mobilize well. And it is really important because it's going to save you a lot of time. Obviously, I've just shown you a brief example there, but you can imagine on quite a large page the effect that would have. So definitely remember to use your panels and remember how the mobile algorithm works so that you can get your pages mobilizing nice and smoothly and you don't have to make too many changes in the mobile editor. So that is the tips and tricks section done and concluded with. I hope you've enjoyed that and found that useful as well. And of course, the mobile tips are definitely something I would recommend remembering. Before we finish up then, I'm going to go on to some frequently asked questions, some things that come up a lot, and some things that will be useful if you're just getting started with Convertri or looking to make the most of the features we have to offer. So I'm going to come out of this funnel for now. I don't need to worry about saving that. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is custom domains, because it's something that, of course, you want to get set up if you want to use Convertri. You want to have your own custom domain. So it's important to understand how to set that up in Convertri. To do this, you need to go to your account section. And I would stress you do need to have the domain purchased already. Convertri doesn't actually sell domains, so you'll need to go and get it from a domain registrar. Once you've purchased your domain, just go to domains on the left-hand side and then click use Convertri with a new domain and hit add. This is where you'll then type your domain in. So example.com is the example we use. You need to enter a domain obviously to create it, but you also need to make sure it's unique. So that's why you need to purchase it first to make sure you can add it. Once you've done that, just click add. What will happen then is it will appear in this list, which you can see here is the list of my domains. And at the start, it will say that it's not configured because you haven't set up the name servers. So what you need to do is match up the name servers that we provide you into your domain registrar. Now, I can't show you the full setup from start to finish. You will find a link to the help doc on the page though, so don't worry, you can go and watch that after you've seen this webinar. But what you'll need to do is go into records, click show name servers, and then use these 4 name servers and add them into your DNS settings in your domain registrar. And that will link up the two so that Convertri then hosts the domain. As you can see here, it can take up to 40 hours for those DNS changes to propagate through. It's often much faster, but that is just sort of a disclaimer there. Like I said, though, we'll have a help doc guide. You'll be able to see it on the page that the webinar is playing on. And from there, you'll be able to see that full setup from start to finish. Once it is completed, this red exclamation mark will go to a green tick. The next thing I want to show you guys is something I did mention a little bit earlier, and that is the different way to set up a header or footer in a page. So you'll notice here we did have it by doing panels, but when we're in our funnel, you can see we've got this header and footer section here on the left. And this is called our shared header and footer feature. And what this allows you to do is create a master header and a master footer for your pages. So you'll see I've already got one here for this funnel. If we go into edit, you can see that you essentially have a new editor for this. And here you can create like a menu. You could have a logo up here, a telephone number. And what this allows you to do is create this, save it in your master header, and then go and apply it to all your pages so you don't have to make it for each page individually. So let's show you how that works now with our opt-in page. So I'll open the editor for you. If I go to page again, and then headers and footers, I can choose to turn on my header and you'll see it appear in the background. I can make it sticky, which will show you the effects of that now, or I can toggle that off. That's completely up to me. I can hit done. So let's save this. You can see it hasn't got rid of the header we put in because to Convertri, this is just another element. It's just shunted that down a little bit, but this header here will now act as a header for any page that we turn that on in this funnel. So let's hit publish so that we make the changes save. And once that has stopped spinning and it's got the tick, we know it's been published. You can view that page. And because it's sticky, you can see as I'm scrolling down the page, it's staying at the top, which is a great feature if you want to keep something in view like so. If without it being sticky, we can show you that as well. If we hit done, save and publish, essentially what that's going to mean is when you scroll down the page, it will remain at the top, so it will go out of view at some point. So we'll view the page again, And this time it's scrolling with the page, so it's not actually moving down at all. The page is scrolling and it's matching those settings. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to integrate Zapier with Convertri. It's a great tool to use loads of third-party services that we don't have direct integrations with, but we are integrated with Zapier, which means you can connect your Convertri account to your Zapier account, and from there you can use the third-party tools such as, setting up a form so it goes to Google Sheets, or setting up a form submission so that the prospect is sent out a Gmail email. And you can also set it up to other services such as Printful for fulfillment. So I'm going to show you how to set the integration up today and give you a little overview of the Zapier dashboard as well. So we've got our integrations here. And this is where all of our integrations are housed. You can see we've got our autoresponders, we've got general, payment processors, and we've got webinars as well. So the Zapier one comes under general. So to set it up, just click setup. Toggle enable integration. You're going to copy the Convertri API key, and you're then going to go into Zapier, in your Zapier dashboard here, go to My Apps. Sorry, you're going to go to Zaps, not My Apps. Zaps and apps can be a little bit confusing. When you're in apps, it is apps actually. I did think it was apps in the first place. You're going to then hit custom integrations, add a connection. You're then going to search for Convertri, use the Convertri bunny one, and from here you can connect your account and paste that code in. So you'll click yes, continue. And you've now got a connection to Convertri from Zapier. And if you hit save like so, you'll see this has now been connected like so. So if we go back to our campaigns and we use our getting started webinar funnel as an example, we can make sure we've got our Zapier turned on in the forms menu. So Zapier here, we can be triggered for form submissions, and we'll need to set up a Zap first before this is allowed to be turned on. So if we click done and go back to Zapier, here you can see is where you would set up your Zaps. So we can create a Zap, and this will then essentially pass the information through to Zapier so that we can get those third-party connections going. So we can go for an app event, which is going to be our trigger. So again, we can search Convertri. And if we use this one here as an example that I've got set up, you'll see we get a new form submission on a page. We've got our choose an app, which is the Convertri app here. And then we can choose a trigger and the list of triggers will appear. We're going to go for new submission from a page. Click continue. We can then choose our account. You can see my account, which I connected. We can then choose a domain. So I had it set to my name.convertri.com. Just check that, yep. And then we can go to our funnel, and you can see it's pulling all this information from my Convertri account directly. And I can even go down to the exact page that is on in the funnel. Like so. And then submission type. Again, we can choose form submission and continue. And then here we've got our action. I won't test the trigger on the webinar, but you can see this is how you then set up your action. So we've got an email in Gmail. You can choose from loads of different services. We've got Google Calendars, Google Drive, Google Sheets, and this is all in Zapier. And you can see they've got a wide variety of services which you can connect things to. So as I say, you could have it pass the information into a Google Sheets document to collect that information in there. So really loads of possibilities, and that's why the Zapier integration is so popular and so well used in Convertri. So that's how to set it up, and there's a brief overview of the Zapier dashboard. We do have some more help docs on that again, which we can get some links to on the page. So you'll be able to go and do a little bit of a deep dive into Zapier, and there's some information on their website as well on how to use that. But it's nice to have a brief overview of that on this call as well. So moving on then to another question that is often asked, and that's how to get some multiple integrations onto your form. So let's say we wanted to have our prospects connected to our MailChimp list, which we already have, but we also wanted them to be signed up to a webinar. So for example, we wanted to host a webinar. We want them to be added to our mailing list, but we also want them to be added to our webinar list. You can see we have different types of webinar integrations. I'm going to use GoToWebinar to show you this. And all you need to do is then search for a target, and you can select the two here. So the one I'm going to use is the GS Webinar Replay. I'm then going to click Done. And essentially now I save and publish this, they will then be added to that registration list when they sign up. So any prospect that now signs up for my form will be added to the registration list, where they'll receive a registration link, and they'll go into my GoToWebinar account, and they'll be listed there as an attendee. So that's how to set up multiple integrations to a form. The last two things I want to show you are sort of a bit of custom styling on your pages, some scripts, some HTML. We'll go with the HTML first because we are on the page. And this one is really cool because it allows you to add third-party widgets to your page that you might not be able to add otherwise if we don't have an element for them. For example, we don't have like a calendar element or a map element at all. However, with the HTML element, if you can get the HTML code for that to program it to display that, then you can have that on your page. So this is the HTML element here. I'm going to drag that on. I then need to go edit HTML, and then I can get my code. So I'm just getting my code now. And then I'll add it in here, click save. And you can see this one is for a map. So it's close to South London, and this is going to display it on the live page as well. And it's basically allows you, the HTML element allows you to, as I say, add third-party tools that you wouldn't otherwise be able to have in Convertri. So it is a really cool feature of Convertri because it just gives you so much more customization on your pages, which I think is really beneficial. So you can see that appears here. I can move this around, and this is essentially giving me a map of London, which is really cool. You could obviously use this on a contact page or on like a directional page if you were selling stuff in person and you wanted to direct someone to your store. That's a great way to have it. You would need to, of course, source the HTML code for yourself though. But once you've got it, you can apply it to your page, no problem. The last thing then that I want to show you is how to add scripts and how to add scripts at multiple levels in Convertri. So you can add scripts at account level, which will apply the script to everything on your account. You can add it at domain level, which will apply it to everything on your domain, funnel level, and of course page level. So to do it on an account level, you just go to account, and then you just go to scripts. And here you can see you can add an account script, and I've got one already here. To do that, just click add script. Script name, description if you want to. You can change it to run on page load or not. If you turn it off, you can configure this so that it runs on like a button click. And then you just enter your code here and save it. And again, with domains, you just need to go to domains and then edit scripts on your domain. And again, you'll be presented with a similar modal, which will allow you to add the domain script like so. It's the same menu, so you can add it on your domain. And finally, or the last two ways to do it are you can add it onto your funnel. So you go to scripts on the left, just above the header and footer. You can add the funnel script here. Again, the exact same modal. And finally, you can add it to a page as well. So if we go to our opt-in page, we will now actually add a script. The reason I didn't add scripts on each level there is because we've got one script to use an example. And if we add them on one, it will just keep showing anyway, so you won't really see the difference. But of course, you'll now see we don't have any scripts on the other ones. We can just add it to this page though. So again, I'm going to add my page script. I'm just going to go and grab my code. And I can add the code here, just give it a name. So this one is a message pop-up. And I don't have to give it a description, but I can if I want. I can run it on page load, like I say. Which means now I've got my warning sign, which all it's telling me to do is republish the page. I can hit done, hit publish like so. And once it's finished publishing, we'll be able to view the page and we'll see that the script has been applied to our page like so. And if we go back into our custom scripts, you can see you can toggle a script off easily like so, and you will need to republish it for that change to take effect, but you can easily toggle it off, so you don't have to delete it completely and re-add it. You can just use the toggle. Okay, so that is going to finish it up then for today. I hope you enjoyed this Getting Started webinar with Convertri. My name has been Dan, and I hope to see you around here very soon. Thanks for coming, guys, and I'll see you later.